NASA have confirmed something terrifying on a planet almost identical to Earth,
Well, that sounds scary.
orbiting a star eerily similar to our own sun. This is Kepler 452b, often called Earth's older cousin.
Okay, well, first off, eerily similar to our own sun is silly because there's nothing eerie about a star that's roughly the same size as the sun. There are tons of them out there. And Kepler 452b is a real planet, maybe, more to come on that later, that is pretty similar to Earth. Like, it's just a little bit bigger and it's potentially in the habitable zone, so that's cool. So in that video, they talk about how crazy it would be if there were human-like things looking up at us from Kepler 452b, and then they say this recent terrifying NASA discovery is too terrifying for TikTok and that you should DM them. Which I obviously didn't want to do, but I wanted to see if this was based on anything at all. So I looked up Kepler 452b. NASA has a website called Eyes on Exoplanets where you can get information about planets, learn some things about them, how far away they are, how far they orbit from their star, how big they might be. But there's nothing mind-blowing here, so I went digging a little deeper and looked for recently published scientific papers. I found around 20 papers. The most recent one was from January 2023. It was just something looking at using a model and comparing it to observations of the planet. Nothing crazy. So that video was literally based on nothing, but I found a couple other interesting things as I was looking at this planet. I went and found the discovery paper of Kepler 452b where they talk about the evidence for it and some of the characteristics they can figure out. And if you recall, this website really confidently tells us things like this thing is 3.2 times the mass of Earth, 1.6 times its radius, it has an orbital eccentricity of 0, that means it just orbits in a perfect circle. And as it turns out, we don't really know most of those things. Like, from the observations, they could get a sense of how far from the host star it was and its radius, but mass and eccentricity, any sort of composition information, none of that is constrained. They don't know any of it. And in terms of whether or not it's habitable, we don't know if it's a rocky planet, we don't know if it has a surface to stand on, and it might not even be in the habitable zone. Because there's so much we don't know about the planet and its host star, we can't say exactly where the habitable zone is, and some estimates place the planet outside of it. I also found this paper and one other that claimed that the planet might not even exist at all, that its detection was just kind of statistical noise, and that seems like a beef that I don't want to get into. But what I'm really trying to point out here is that when it comes to studying exoplanets, there's so much we don't know, their stories are very complicated, and we're not really anywhere close to detecting life or any of the crazy things that these TikTok videos claim. So be wary, and don't trust anyone that says you need to DM them for the actual story.